An extortion of money. Armed men of the Amazonian Defense Force assaulted travelers and collected sums of money from them as they halted tens of vehicles along the Batibo-Woodicombe Road in Momo County on Sunday, the 3rd of September. Ayabacho's armed men mounted roadblocks around a name village near Tibo, where they charged road users 10,000 francs CFA for men and 5,000 francs CFA for women. Those who resisted were brutalized. Many of the occupants of the vehicles that used the road that same day were traders who were headed for the Widdicombe market.
Now, one of the travelers and eyewitness reports say women were forced to pay 5,000 francs CFA, while men had to pay 10,000 francs CFA. A Nigerian who refused to comply was seriously beaten. According to reports, they stayed there for hours, and since the ADF is an allied force of TC's BIR, Colonial Republic occupier security forces did not intervene, despite the fact that they had been alerted by the other vehicles that were still behind. This is one of the travelers bemoaning. Now, without being privy to the fact that the ADF works in tandem with La Republic in security forces, this victim was surprised that the occupier La Republic security and defense forces were nowhere to be found amid the armed men's incursion. Usually, security forces patrol the road regularly to keep track of the Amazonian Restoration Forces movements, but not ADF.
But this was not the case on September 3rd when the armed men came knocking. They carried out the operation unperturbed. Recently, gunmen still loyal to Ayabacho also attacked and collected huge sums of money and valuables from traders who were traveling to the market in small Babanki Tuba local government area. Even though the colonial La Republic of Cameroon annexationist government authorities blindfolded the word of a return to normalcy, insecurity has remained constant in the northern zone, in the northern zone of Amazonia, where the war is fiercest.
Moving on, in detention since 2020 for reporting about Amba, Colonial La Republic annexationist authorities in Yaoundé have transferred journalist Kingsley Fomunyu Njoka to the ward housing dangerous criminals in the Kondegi maximum security prison in Yaoundé. Well, Undaunted learned this unfortunate transfer took place recently after he was again questioned about his journalism covering the conflict in the southern Cameroon's Amazonia. Plainclothes Colonial La Republic insecurity agents abducted journalist Kingsley Fumunya Njoka in May 20 and took him to Kondegi prison where he has been languishing under what they call pre-trial detention.
Well, according to his lawyer, Amungwer Tanye, and Canal Cho English host Divine Iyaike, Njoka formerly worked as a correspondent for Thoth Chalk, a current affairs show on Lancaster Canal Cho English at a Catholic bi-weekly magazine, Early Fort Cameroonese, and the Catholic-owned printing house Macacos. Njoka is also a member of the Cameroon Association of English-Speaking Journalists. Journalist Samuel Wazizi died in detention in Yaoundé. Some are killed at gunpoint, others are missing, and many Amazonian journalists are on the run. That is their fate in the colonial Republic of Cameroon, and that will continue to be until Amba is free.
When we talk about news trending in Africa, West Africa seems to be a hot ground right now. Let's start with Gabon. The Gabonese military junta has released ousted President Ali Bongo from detention. Bongo was freed from house arrest according to reports on health grounds. Reports tell that the decision to free Mr. Bongo was due to his state of health.
Meanwhile, in Niger, France is reported to be in talks with Niger's military about the possible withdrawal of French troops from the West African nation in the wake of the fraying of ties following the coup in July, according to French media reports. Confirming the news, former French ambassador to Mali and Senegal, Nicolas Normand, told Al Jazeera that according to his sources, talks were ongoing between the French and Niger militaries to partially withdraw troops.
And G20 comes to Africa. G20 sets to grant membership to African Union. In an article, an international newspaper today, Thursday, Modi wrote, "Our presidency has not only seen the largest ever participation from African countries, but has also pushed for the inclusion of the African Union as a permanent member of the G20. The G20 currently comprises 19 countries and the European Union. The members represent around 85% of global GDP, more than 75% of global trade, and about two-thirds of the world population."
The group of 20, comprising the world's richest and most powerful countries, will grant membership to the African